You want me to yeah.
Everybody.
Oh, sweet. That's working. Thank you.
No, serious. He said this long the shot. Okay, done.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, you get my yeah, what's up? Which team are you buying? And there were some I know they tried to call. Hard to convince.
Oh, message me. Oh, message me.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
You can find me on Insta, but I don't have the app in my phone. I use it maybe if someone specifically tells me that I have uploaded this shit on Insta, go and check it out. Then I'll maybe log on. Time is time.
Last year, there were another
Yeah, I mean, once you start the app, you keep scrolling, scrolling. And after you scroll, you're like, just one more feed, one more feed, one more feed. With each feed, you just.
I was generally exploring.
Oh, okay, you watch stories about.
Story. અને કેવું હોય કે જનરલી જે લોકો તમે જોતા હો ને પહેલા એક વાર એક્ઝોસ્ટ થઈ જાય અને રેન્ડમ લોકો આવા થઈ જાય બટ તો કેવું છું કેમ કે ઝોન આઉટ થઈ જવાય
Time in general, so no noise.
Yeah. No, should I waiting control? Like you were telling me,
You remember
rectangle
Coffee
and then I fall. The coffee falls.
That's okay. The problem would be if this thing falls.
Oh yeah, they're
That's
they followed me.
Oh,
they're filming it.
Then they'll ask you to pay, I don't know, thousands, 10,000.
What is this? Hey,
Yeah.
that is yours.
Yeah.
That was yours. Okay. So the main thing is when I was walking, angle up and fall. And fall. This falls on. How about that? What kind of camera is this? Okay. Yeah, this is probably like 5K.
Okay.
So you can get it cheap. Shit, we're being filmed. Maybe this thing is like 20. Something like Have you guys met all the you had a chance to go
Yeah.
Hey, I'm inside. No, not this camera. Not this. Sorry. It's a big one ball.
Oh man, your hand thing is it stands out so much. It's so good. It's like you got this massive
Oh,
cake.
this is interesting. This is like my type. Somehow, we didn't arrange that, but
Yeah, that's great. You can send them to me.
yeah, later. No, I everything is like I haven't opened it. That is flat. I got like one. No, that's it. Why is okay. Thank you.
5 instance.
Yeah, you can hug me. You can do this all the time.
The first slide. Okay, good afternoon everybody. Why? Everybody here, please take a seat. Joe, we're going to start. So folks, we've got over 15, we've got 17 teams presenting this afternoon. So, shh. Anyone who keeps talking when I'm talking will not present. Or I'm not that sort of creepy. But the important thing is you've all worked very hard over the last sort of 24 hours, and it's important that you all get your 3 minutes to put your idea, your story, your exploration across, and we'd like everybody to be listening. It's been a great 24 hours. There's been a lot happening. And so I'd like to congratulate you all for your efforts. As I said yesterday, we've got people as young as 10. Are you 10 tomorrow or are you 11 tomorrow? 10 tomorrow. So officially they're 9 today, 364 days old. So I think they actually rate as our youngest participants. And then we have people more close to my age. So there's a broad spread. There's a broad spread of challenges and experiences and exploration. We've got hardware, we've got software, and we've got some kind of ideas and work in progress. So there's a broad spectrum, and that again is what the NASA Space App Challenge is about. It's connecting over 22,000 people around the world, 200 different locations, all focusing on the same set of activities. And so you should be very excited, very proud that you're part of something like this. So I first of all suggest you give yourselves a big round of applause! And yes, there are prizes. But the big prize, of course, is that you're all here and you've created something that you perhaps didn't think that you could do in the space of, not much more than 24 hours. You've taken on new software, you've mastered some skills, you've tried things, they haven't all worked. And there'll be presentations this afternoon where people will point to something and say, actually it's not quite working at the moment, but if I had that extra part, it would do this. And that's fine. Shh, please. And that's fine, because what we're about is exploration. We're about trying things, and perhaps it's not working right now, but that's okay. And if something goes wrong during your presentation and the click doesn't quite work, just keep going and say this is what it should be to it. Because that's what it's about. We're trying to push boundaries here, and you've got to keep pushing them and make it happen. So, and it's about having fun over the next hour. In your 3 minutes, when you're up here presenting, we want you to have as much fun as possible. Enjoy the moment, and we want everybody to listen to you. Now, do I have some slides? No? Okay. The prizes, in case you've forgotten, there are 2 prizes, $1,000 for each team. And that, and the 2 teams will be put forward to the global challenge, and so you'll be eligible then, as part of the global competition, to be eligible to win tickets to go to a launch at Cape Canaveral. First of all, before I also start, I'd now like to, first of all, thank our great sponsor today, which is Red Hat Innovation Labs, represented by Shay Pele, who is here to help be one of our judges. So thank you very much. This is the 2nd year Red Hat has stepped in, so give them a round of applause. They kindly paid for the food that you consume, the prizes, and a contribution to the activities and hostess, and also some t-shirts we've got. So there's a few more goodies to be handed out later. And then, I think you all know Vidushi, Dr. Vidushi Bhattacharya, who heads Astropreneurs Hub. And Vidushi is one of those people that has not necessarily pioneered space in Singapore, because it was doing things before Vidushi arrived, but she has certainly activated interest in the space, generated jobs, pushed things along, and been pushing everybody in the right way to develop this industry. And as she said just earlier, you know, the space industry is kind of where the computer industry was in the 70s. When you think about the size of computers, nobody had access to computers in those days, and now we all have them in our pockets. Roll forward 50 years, and you know, many of you, but certainly I won't be around, but many of you will be zooming forth to space on a regular basis. So you are at the beginning of one of the most exciting periods in sort of modern history. So this is what this is about. Not to make it any bigger than it should be, but it is a really important time. And again, thank you for participating. So, enough from me, I think. Vidushi, you want to say anything?
I've seen a lot of really great projects. I'm pretty excited. I saw some really good projects. I was pretty excited. I can already tell that we've got a lot of out-of-the-box thinkers here. So, well done. Regardless of the outcome today, I hope that you all go home, talk to your friends and family about space, and keep engaged, and we hope to get you involved. We have a couple workshops coming up. Talk to me if you're interested, but in any case, regardless of how things have gone today, I really appreciate you giving your weekend to us. So thanks very much.
Chair, I'm going to give some words from you at the end when you're handing out some prizes after you've sort of seen a few things. You might like to say something then, or would you like to say something now?
When do we start?
Okay, good, okay. When we start, let's get going with it. Alrighty, please take your seats, Vidushi and Shay. Shay, you're over there. I'm in the middle. Am I holding on the mic? Nice to keep this one. Great. Alright, so it's 3 minutes, remember folks. Stand on the X over there, the blue X, so that you'll be immortalized and streamed and all those great things. And yeah, I know it might sound cranky, but please don't talk while the presenters are going, because it's only fair that they have their time. And big voice, smile, enjoy, and let's go with the first team. Oh, that's right, I'm announcing. Sorry. Oops. And the first team is, how about Gigantua? Is that close enough? Okay, first team, go. I hope you have a mic. Yes.
Hi.
All right, you're over here.
Okay, hi everyone. Okay, everyone can hear me. Okay, I should start. So, very good afternoon.
afternoon to everyone. Today we'll be presenting our solution for SpaceX Challenge 2019. So this is just an overview of our team. So today we will be solving the solution on set your sights high. So specifically we want to actually help people to understand satellite data. So how are we going to do that? So in order to do that, we need to really understand the background behind space tech. So we find that people are actually very alienated towards space tech. They don't know much about it, and therefore they do not actually understand the purpose behind space tech. So we have come to realize that this is therefore the main problem that we need to solve for this challenge, which is that space tech lacks the human touch. It does not feel close to heart. So therefore we need to humanize space tech. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that through our solution called Eye in the Sky. So Eye in the Sky, so traditionally, there's actually a bridge between mankind as well as satellite. So information is fed from the satellites to humans, is pushed to them. But how many of us actually want to find out more about satellites? That's why our team actually decided to repackage this concept. We want to make sure that satellite data is pulled to humans. So we want to tap on the beliefs and concerns that people have in, say, war events, and make them realize that all these war events are actually the image as well as the information about them is obtained through the satellite. So in doing so, you'll be interested to find out more about the satellites. So specifically, our solution has three main features: curated content, contextualized AR experience, as well as last but not least, satellite on demand, where people can identify the satellites in the sky. So now we're passing on the time to Elon to talk more about the app itself.
So our solution is called Eye in the Sky. So let's get started. So the onboarding process involves asking the user some questions about what they're passionate about, what they believe in. So for instance, the user clicks on deforestation, climate change, pollution, disaster relief, and they'll be shown a curated list of events that might be possibly interesting to them, as well as a list of trending events that are currently popular around the world. So for instance, if I want to find out more about the recent typhoon in Japan, so for instance, the satellite data shows the extent of the infrastructure damage around areas in Tokyo. And if I want to know how this data is actually collected, I'll click to find out more about the satellite Sentinel-1, and you can see a brief information about the mission as well as the instruments that are currently on board. And it also shows the user where the satellite is currently located with respect to where they are now. So now I'll pass on the time to Tianli to talk more about the AR experience.
Okay, thanks Elon. Okay, so users can also opt to actually go into an AR experience when you click the button. And here in this AR experience, it actually simulates the flooding conditions from the recent typhoon Hagibis, okay, in city Mito in Japan, by simulating the flood as well as the rainfall. So this can extend to other scenarios as well. For example, forest fires or haze, and also this actually allows the users to empathize better with the foreign situations. Next, we also have another feature where when the satellite is overhead.
Thank you. The next team will be Penworth Labs. And folks, make sure you keep your eye on the monitor down here. It's very easy to see the countdown monitor so you can keep track of time. Can we have Argo on standby? He'll be presenting after Penworth Labs. Argo.
Hi everyone, hope you guys are having a nice day. We are from Penworth Labs. My name is Ventura, and the problem that we're trying to solve here is Spot That Fire V2.0. So what most firefighters face today is that current drone solutions only provide an external aerial view, and thereby it limits the visual situational awareness on the ground in case of a fire, right? So what we have, Pluto 1.0, is a firefighting reconnaissance quadrupedal robot that one, assists firefighters, and two, mitigates fires. So a quick introduction of what Pluto 1.0 is. Sorry, in the future it will be much bigger than this. Alright, so here we use NASA live fire data, OpenNDX. Alright, and fire is reported by on-the-ground citizens report. and thereby we are able to customize the system. Hello, sorry. So the yellow part is the robot spark, right? That's customized according to the fire data provided by NASA. So it avoids danger zones as well. So here we have AI modules that detects people when they are in danger, the affected area, and obviously the 3D sensors on board can stream live this data to authorities for better visualization. Alright. So to sum it up, this is NASA fire data is extremely crucial to our mission success of the 1.0. And then followed by it will be validated by the on-the-ground citizen report. And if, as an incentive, we can have aerial view of the drone. And if we want to have an in-depth visual look on the ground, we can have Digital 1.0. And also in the spirit of openness, we believe that there will be a stream of application developers like you could actually build on top of our module. So such as this OpenMCP. Alright? And this will be the cost of our robot. You can take a look. Now moving forward, okay, right now it's actually in the process of work. We are trying to build a much bigger robot, a quadruped. So using brushless motors, much like what Boston Dynamics had. Thank you.
Next up will be Argo. Could I have Koala 5 on standby? Your name, Koala 5, where are you? On standby, please.
Sorry, a bit further.
Yes, please X marks the spot, not where we are.
Okay, we are Argo. So basically, right, plastics are everywhere, even in our body. So how do we actually deal with that? So we are doing with detection, marine plastic detection. So basically, there's all common types of plastic, different types of plastic, and there are macro and micro. So this is the data by NASA, which is the micro plastic meters, the localization, and the data collected from NASA. There are ocean density, ocean circulation, and ocean currents, which detects plastic, and a garbage patch visualization, which helps to detect where most of the plastics are accumulated. So this information can be used to detect the plastics and the future location.
Thank you. So now to detect microplastic in the ocean, so we use sharing information between the three players. First of all, with radio satellites using others spectral sensor. We share that with Sentinel-3 from the ESA because they're specialized with the infrared waves for detecting marine plastic in the ocean. And of course, satellite from NASA because of the radio and optical spectrum. So all this technology combined can furnish in real time, a good collaboration of data, and we can centralize all this information with SDK software for data analysis. And then the next step, because there's two different kinds of plastics, micro and micro. So about detection microplastic, that's a huge issue actually, because as they are everywhere. So actually we are involved in two ways. The first is about the community, and the second one is about the infrastructure. So so about the microplastic, so how we involve the players, the first will be like a collaboration between people and professional guys. So for example, will be about mobile hub, and they are sharing this information in real time with sensor detection bots, because it's already compulsory in some countries to set up sensor on boats. For example, sailors, they permit and they transmit information to a ground station, and so people when they use this application, they know where is the microplastic. Yeah. So of course we need to reward them. Yeah. With different kind of systems of money or crypto token, such as Ether, because that's a contribution and we need to motivate people about that. And yeah, so how it's possible to have different ways to do that. So that's about it. Very concrete solution. It's working, already in use. Yeah, thank you very much.
I have the other side to understand about the business.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I'm Hazika from Team Qualified, and today I'm going to present to you Project Hydra. 35% of natural disasters around the world, 25% of deaths around the world are caused by natural disasters. 35% of these disasters happen in Africa, and 20% of these disasters are floods. This cost the continent $4 billion for relief efforts, and it affects about 74,000 people. Our solution is a map visualization platform that aims to solve two problems. One, lack of map data, and two, scattered data. And how do we do this? I'll explain now. Okay, and our target users are these people: humanitarian, NGOs, research scientists, governments, and so on. Okay, our concept. We make use of this mechanism called the vulnerability risk score, which takes into three components: natural hazards, economics, and infrastructure, and comes up with one single number for you to assess the vulnerability of that particular location. Okay, so the first problem is lack of map data. What happens currently is that people make use of volunteers to map remote areas, but this is actually very time consuming. So our solution will make use of the wealth of satellite imagery that NASA has and applies an object detection algorithm to automatically detect human settlements and map the area within the snap of your finger. And this is very fast. And then we also take in different data from different components. Like as I explained earlier, natural hazards. An example of the data we put into would be flood-prone areas. So this is an elevation data from NASA, so we can see where the low-lying areas are. We also have other examples like landslide risk and diseases. So floods come with floods. We can have diseases like waterborne diseases such as typhoid and cholera. And then for the infrastructure component, we have data such as hospital beds per 1,000 people. So how resilient the country is and when a disaster happens. The third component would be economics. So we map out the GDP of Africa. So the higher the GDP, the more developed the country is, right? So they would be more capable to deal with disasters. We also include income inequality and population. So from this, we calculate the vulnerability risk score, a single number for you to see, and at a glance, you can know which areas are at risk. So these are our future improvements. I want to expand worldwide and so on. Okay, so Hydra helps people. Hail Hydra.
Next up is Earth Savers, and if we could have table seekers on standby.
Hi, Carl.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are Team Earth Savers. So our product is Flare. We are targeting the Spot Fire Version 2 challenge this year. So our vision for our application is connect people in different categories. So the first one is we want to connect people who are directly or indirectly affected by wildfires. We also want to allow people to help to volunteer in this kind of rescue operations. And the third one would be to benefit governments by providing support easily through our data. So this is our app specification. The first one would be the one on the left. We can see that there's this fire trial on the left with a black burn mark inside. So we are able to leverage we will be able to leverage on NASA's data, NASA's live near to real-time data to predict fire movements along the path, and also able to track whether the trials of the fire previously. And of course, in the image in the middle, users are able to activate flare alerts to send out distress signals indicating that they are trapped. And also the last one, we are able to set up shelters in a sense to help these people who are in distress, providing them a form of shelter during this period of time. So we're also able to report a fire by snapping a picture of it, and sending it through together with NASA data to verify if the fire is real or fake. So there are some other features over here. Primarily, the first one would be registering as a flare shelter, because this is we are basically a social networking platform in times of emergency to allow people to help each other out. So registering as a flare shelter is actually a few clicks away. So in order for you to sign up as a flare shelter, you need to provide certain resources so that you can accommodate the right amount of people inside the shelter. So leveraging on NASA data, we are able to, the NASA near real-time data helps to verify this kind of information posted by users and to trigger certain notifications to track the direction of the wildfire. Also helps families abroad to check whether their families are safe and they are not with them at the same time, same point of time. So in the future, we are actually looking at continuous learning. We are actually building on top of last year's Spot That Fire version 1 challenge, because we want to enable open source creation. We're able to plug and play not just wildfire data, we're able to plug and play other natural disaster data like flood, earthquake, and hurricane. So it becomes a common platform where it becomes a Airbnb for all kinds of disasters. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Next up is table seekers. And if I could have Fuzzy Logic on standby, please. Fuzzy Logic on standby. Excellent.
Hi. So harmful algal blooms are an increasing cause of concern due to the increasing frequency of occurrence and due to the negative impacts that they cause, such as environmental and health damages in terms of dangerous toxins or water, oxygen depletion of water, and this leads to economic damages. As you can see by the figures, $4 billion for freshwater lakes in the US alone, dollars in terms of damages. And multiple factors to promote this algal growth, you can see here. And it's important to know that each body of water is affected differently, as well as the communities near these bodies of water. And so we can utilize machine learning to take data and then actually predict future algal blooms.
So algal blooms are becoming an increasingly big issue, and we identified 5 features that we think are kind of indicators of algal bloom. And those are ozone layer, air pollution, human coastal activity, water temperature, and temperature anomalies. So we use NASA data provided from Sentinel-2 satellite that indicate all these features, and we fed them into our machine model. and try to predict algal blooms. So this is the output of our model. The first image is the true algal blooms, and the bottom image is something that our model predicts. And given that this was done in very little time with little data, the predictions are quite good. If you can see west of Africa and west of South Americas, these regions are kind of lighter than surrounding regions, which means that the model can actually identify locations where that are prone to algal blooms. And now, given that we have this model that can predict algal blooms, what can we do with this data? Well, we can use AI to try to see what factors we can influence to prevent this growth from even happening.
Sorry. Okay, so yeah, so we want to basically find a solution to how to reduce the blooms. And in order to do that, we're going to use reinforcement learning, where our agent is trying to maximize its reward, which in our case is the negative cost of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to reduce is going to generate. And I'll leave you with this slide. So we did a mock-up session of what our RL agent can actually achieve, and this is the proposed solution that it suggests in order to reduce the blooms. Thank you.
And can I have fluid memory on standby, please?
Hi, I'm Johan.
Hi, I'm Johan.
I'm Wilson.
And we are Fuzzy Logic. We are very excited to have our very first hackathon we're very excited to choose NASA Space and Hackathon for our very first, produce my partner and go for our very first hackathon. And what would you think if you, how would you feel if you were to live in this place?
Not good.
And this is NASA's website called Space Birds, and it shows all the different debris orbiting around the Earth, which is in the center. And the blue and yellow dots are the space debris that's orbiting around the Earth.
And this is an MIT review regarding space debris. So what's space debris? Space debris is the remnants of lost satellites and lost rocket stages that's stuck in Earth's orbits. So as such, we created a game in order to raise awareness about the issue of space debris. This is a game where you control a spaceship in order to collect space debris using a spaceship, and you have to avoid asteroids.
Quickly.
So my partner Wilson will start the game, and as you can see, the red colored orbs in the field is the space debris that you need to collect, and the white colored moving objects are the meteors that you have to try to avoid. And on the top left corner is the score. So as you can see, as he collects the orbs, then your score will increase. And you have a timer. If you collect everything before the timer ends, then you win. If you don't, then you lose. Like that. Yeah. So we hope to complete this game here, and if we do, it'll be out on the App Store for you guys to download. And here's a funny slide for you guys.
Next one is including memory. And if I could have tell us on standby, please. Tell us on standby.
Hello. Hi, I'm Darren, and this is my friend Hussein. So we are working on the memory maker project. So what's the scope of the challenge? It's to create a mechanical method to store data and to handle the operations of a Venus rover. So what's the reason for this project in the first place? So Venus is a really inhospitable environment. The temperature is about 500 degrees Celsius and the pressure is about 92 times that of Earth. So typically any lander that has gone there has not been able to send data for more than 2 hours. They typically fail due to the electronics. So what is our solution? It's a fluidic system in order to do computation. So this system will be able to replace a typical silicon chip and do all your calculations for you. So how it works is that, okay, so it is a channel with two immiscible fluids. One is conductive and one is non-conductive. So, and there are probes that go into the channel. So when the conductive fluid makes contact with the two probes, it bridges the gap, and this allows for a signal to be sent. And vice versa for the non-conductive fluid, no signal is sent. So we can use this and scale them together to create logic gates. So I have an example of an AND gate that I've created there. So like this, we can create all the different logic gates. So you can scale this to create a system like this. So this is just an example of what it would look like. So what's the benefit of this is it's cheap, easily manufactured, and there's only one single moving part. For typical complex calculations, you could not do this with a mechanical system. And it's currently utilized in high pressure and temperatures. So we have a prototype made, which you can see over there. So it's very simple. There's a fluidic CPU which sends signals to the relay, and that's connected to a motor. So it's very simple. The relay itself has polarity switching in order to allow that to go forward and backwards, etc. So it's just programmed to move forward and backwards a little bit, just to wonder. So due to some technical difficulties, it is not currently working. All the story, do not buy prosthetic pumps from AliExpress.
If you were to build one of these in real life and bring to Venus, these are the recommended materials we would use.
Lava is a joke.
Surely. For this is the if NASA plans to build one of this is one of my draw designs that I've made. So basically, when it falls, it will be sort of compressed, and when it lands, it will be expanded into a full-fledged rover with a rocker rookie system, wire mesh rover wheels inspired from the Mars rover, a heat shield for the extreme heat, a fluidic system, of course, and the entry of tungsten or titanium due to the high. Thank you.
So next up is Tell Us. If I could have Isro on standby, please. Just 1 second, sir.
Hello, we are Dallas, comprising Serene, Kumar, and myself, Tingling. Our challenge is warming planet cooler ideas. Okay? What we do is we develop an app to provide information on the location and types of disasters using NASA's data. So our our objective is to find a silver lining in these disasters. That is, to use them to our benefit. Okay, examples will be given by Cindy, and for now I pass it to. Okay, on the screen is our application that we have done. So we'll start. Okay, these are the disasters list that we have obtained from NASA. So in the EONet website, these are real-time information. So, and as you would see here, this is a list sorted by date, and there are icons that indicates the type of disaster: wildfires, storms, volcanic eruption, etc. So this one we can mention or click on this information, and then it will be mapped. You will see here the map of the disaster. You can zoom it in, and as well see some other information that is, we have derived from the disaster information, specifically for the storm. You will see here that there are paths in the storm. You will see there that date when they occurred at one point. For example, 2009 to 1012. Other ones 2009, 10, 13, and so on and so forth. So this one use case that we have. Another one use case that we have is that we will be able to see all the disasters in their respective pin view, whole pin view. So you will see here that they are all mapped accordingly with the annotations when they occur and all this information. So there are other items here that we need to focus on, and what we need to do is I'll give to Celine to continue.
Hi everyone, we have found one use of the data using the location to find the most disaster-prone area, so that we can use it, locate the most disaster-prone area to find so that we can harness its renewable energy. We can harness its renewable energy using the all known methods like hydroelectric plant in floods, or if there is a earthquake, using the body motion surrounding the earthquake. And this is just an overlay of a mock app. It will tell you how global warming affects the storm, and the next slide. And I will show you potential ways you can generate energy from the storms and many types of. This is one example of storms.
Next up is this is his brother. Sorry, 404 instead.
Hello. A very good afternoon to one and all. We are Team ISRO working on the project Out of This World. So we have to make a manual control system for unarmed autonomous vehicles who, in extraordinary situations like a technical glitch or a path deviation. So from the recent example of Chandrayaan-2, we know how significant this problem is. Loss of control leads to the abortion of a mission, huge monetary losses, and most importantly, it creates more space debris. So what we do is you can control your drone or your autonomous vehicle using our joystick on the app, as you can see in the picture. But this is not even enough. Just by controlling the joystick, you should need more. You often wish that you were there and you could rewrite the code so that the system refunctions and you can get back an autonomous system. So we have injecting code. You can actually inject code from an app to your vehicle in the space just by sending a command, and it will imprompt it without restarting or recompiling it. Let's see how we do it.
So now I know what's the problem with my drone. My LED is malfunctioning. So now I write some code to operate the LED, and I send it. The drone receives it, and now it's blinking the LED, which is the desired functionality.
But we can't see our drone. How can we control it? So there are major two problems in the space. Namely, the obstacle detection, and it will take another 2 seconds. So we have formulas which which predict the position of a drone 4 seconds later, and it shows you on your app. So you will be actually seeing the future image, so you are on par with your vehicle. After that, to avoid the obstacle, we have a proximity sensor which detects the objects and inputs it to the app. This app visualizes the shape and size of the object and sends it so that you can easily maneuver it. Let's see how we do that.
So as you can see, our unmanned vehicle is deviated from the path. So we're using an app to take manual control of the vehicle. So with using the joystick, we make it go to the correct path. Now, it might encounter some obstacles in the path, as represented by this. So now we place an obstacle in front of the proximity sensor, and an obstacle appears even in our app. Now, as we move this obstacle, it goes to different positions and is reflected in real time within our app. So now, once we have the obstacle in view within our app, we can safely avoid it and navigate to our required path.
This is a business model, and our target market will be NASA, Blacksmith, and aerobotics. Thank you.
So this is 404 coming up. And then if I could have Penguin on standby, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Finya. This is Marta, and that's Lucia. And we are here to present our solution for space junk. Like space junk, an intro on space junk. There are more than 500,000 pieces of space junk floating in the space, and it will cause serious attack damage if it hits a satellite, and the satellite also becomes space junk. Yeah. We made a game that is a solution for space junk, and it's a cleanup vehicle. And it's based on the Remove Debris satellite. Here's a video on the game.
Hello, I'm Marta and I'm 9 years old. I really liked the game and found it engaging. My friends would enjoy playing this as well. Before, I didn't know that space junk existed. Now I do.
So our mission today is to create awareness among young kids, like primary school kids, and we have created that game to target primary school children like her. Yeah. Thank you.
Next up is Penguin. If I could have X sound, please stand by, please. X sound.
Good afternoon,
esteemed judges and ladies and gentlemen. So today we are trying to solve a problem about rising sea level. This is of great concern to our planet, to everybody sitting here or standing here. So sea level is continuing to rise and it will continue to rise forever, from the last century to this century and next century. So look at this boy, the fish is already up there. So sea level rise is primarily caused by adding water from melting sea sheets and glacier and expansion of seawater as it warms. So look at this poor polar bear. This is the pattern of the rate of ice melting during these years. So the method to find out how much is the rise is to use the altimeter, the laser altimeter that is invented in 1993 until today. So it will give you better data. So the sea level has risen about 94 mm. So the data we collected is from NASA, the TOPEX, Poseidon, with the JSON refinement. So this is the graph that we have plotted. And now I would like to hand over to Nile to talk about the ice thickness. It's very important when ice is not thick enough.
We have used the NASA NCEP data to extract the ice thickness from all over the globe, and we have plotted that onto the globe, which allows the users to and a layman to visualize the actual change in the thickness of ice. Because to a layman, telling them that 1 centimeter rise in sea level doesn't mean much to them. So I'll hand it over to Z, who will explain further.
Thanks, Neil. So what we've got here is a very simple web application. It's a very simple JavaScript web application based on the CVM.js framework. So I guess the main aim of the project here is to convey to the everyday public that climate change is happening. So the ice is melting. So we had a look at the NASA dataset. So given the limited time we have, we only had a chance to look at kind of like the endpoints of the dataset. So we looked at 2011 and compared that against 2019. So what we did was we took the 2D mesh and we kind of like wrapped around the globe. So if you click on 2000, so that's the delta of the 2011 dataset compared to 2019. So in terms of like a height difference, I think looking at just the maximum values from the 2 years, we have like a 24.6 compared to 24.2 meters. So it's about 0.4 meters difference in the maximum magnitude. So because we want to convey that to the public, so we exaggerate the height of these particular data points, so we make them massive. So if you jump back to 2019, you can see that it's bad.
Thank you. Next up is Act Sound. If I could have Ed Simons on standby.
Okay, hello everyone. The challenge that our team chose to tackle was One Up NASA Earth, which is a challenge that asks participants to create a game about Earth using NASA data. After discussing, we came to the conclusion that we should help solve the problem of an uninformed public. Today, many of us believe that the sole job of NASA is space exploration, and this is what we believed before this hackathon. While it is an integral part of their mission, NASA helps us learn about Earth too. If the general public knew this, NASA itself would gain more funding from the US government, as it would be understood that NASA gives US citizens a tangible benefit as it informs them of data, like soil moisture and susceptibility to flooding. So we're going to have a live demonstration. So we picked the country that you think you know the most about. So he's going to pick Singapore because he lives in Singapore. And so he knows a lot about Singapore, so he's going to get a lot of questions correct. And what's going to happen is that after he finishes this country, it's gonna let's just wait. It's going to take a bit of time because there are a few questions. The score is changing, and there is a time limit of 45 seconds. Yeah, so now he's finished his Singapore's company. Now he's going to do United Kingdom. He doesn't know a lot about United Kingdom. He's going to get questions wrong now. So, come on, get questions wrong. Okay, yeah, he has some snack comments from the game. And so after you get 3 wrong, you get redirected to NASA Worldview. And so let's just see. Yeah, so you get redirected to NASA Worldview, which we chose to use because it is easy to use and has a lot of features. And we try to garner interest about NASA's data by surprising players and showing them how much they could learn from resources like Worldview. As you saw, the first step in the game is to choose a country that you think you know a lot about. When the participant realizes that they don't know a lot about the country that they thought they knew about, they will most probably be surprised and intrigued, which will lead to interest in Worldview and NASA data. We also have a leaderboard in the background, but the UI is not complete yet. But when the leaderboard is set up, you can challenge your friends, and this would be a way of having a fun, friendly competition. So to sum up, this game, using NASA data, encourages users to learn about Earth in a fun and creative way. Thank you.
Can I have October 21 on standby?
Good afternoon, judges, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will be presenting to you our response to the challenge Rising Waters, which challenges us to develop a data visualization tool to illustrate rising sea levels in our region. So, while NASA data clearly shows an upward trend in global sea levels, the causes and impact of global sea levels are still debated, and furthermore, there are local factors such as rising tectonic plates, which affect local sea levels, which means that local sea levels might actually fall, even while global sea levels are rising. So all of this information makes it very confusing for the general audience to actually know what's going on. Hence, we have created an interactive web app that visualizes altimetry measurements from the TOPAX, NVSAT, JSON-1, and JSON-2 missions. And we are delivering them. We're delivering them in a personally engaging manner, which allows users to explore the data and make an informed decision regarding their stand on the issue. Now, Warren will run you through the website.
Thank you, Nicholas. Okay, so first things first, we like to keep things simple, so every Tom, Dick, and Harry can use it. So, of course, here's just some context. Scroll down. Yeah. If you scroll down a bit more, and then you will see that we will have we have a visual data map which shows the average ocean level for the past 18 years. So you can just see around from that. Of course, given more time, we could do a more detailed data set. We scroll down some more. We actually have a little app that we did. It's called Visualize on the Ground. So if you click on it, you could see 4 different types of people, who will be affected most, and then you click on it, you can, wherever in the world, let's say, let's click that. And then, so I think people saying that need to buy a boat because, they're gonna be underwater pretty soon. Okay, so let's go. Let's go back again. And of course, looking towards the future, we want to add more data inside, make it more visual, so that everyone can really understand it in a very simple way. And of course, we would like to make a community around it. So of course, we will want to have more outreach by the social media, having, like, say, a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a Twitter page, or maybe even a forum. We do not want to be a page where you just see one time and you just move on along your day. We want you to really be like, oh shit, something's happening. My house might be underwater, so I might probably buy a boat soon. And also, we also try to have an interactive game in the future to add on to this interactive tool. So we even can, make the younger generation more aware of what's happening. Thank you so much, everyone.
on standby, please. Gio on standby.
No. Well, you can see the sky and know the stories of life beyond. And what if the sun doesn't shine and the moon hides behind? Good afternoon, judges. We are October 21st. Okay, now, imagine you are a busy mother with 3 young kids. On top of taking care of them and doing all the chores, you also want to ignite your passion for space since young. Actually, that's what my mom did. She would buy posters of planets and ask us to arrange the balls according to the sizes of the planets. We even have a telescope at home to see the stars and moon. She has brought us to numerous space events, the latest organized by Science Center, which was an overnight stay and a lifelong learning to see the eclipse. Mom has to plan all this with the little time that she had, if only she knew. Introducing Space Venture Box for kids by kids. This is a mobile application where kids can learn new topics about space every month and do activities with their loved one. So after the login screen, you see the home screen and you can choose to start the lesson. Here's the lesson. There's some information about Mars here, so every month there will be a different topic. So let's say it's about Mars. So after they have taken the lesson, they'll be able to do the quiz. So this is the short quiz, which includes 5 questions, normal questions, and killer questions. So this is the score. So the kids are strongly encouraged not to go for answers, as their scores will determine the prizes they get, and the prizes they receive from the subscription box will be according to their level of understanding. No more receiving boring subscription boxes and unmotivating activities. 3-year-olds who can answer difficult questions should get a more advanced toy book. They can choose a toy book or activity. There will also be a scoreboard for the child to see the position of he or herself. Okay.
Take hers.
Fix hers. Some of the activities the adult can do with the child is to make a telescope using receptor hooks. There are 3 subscription plans: planet subscription, moon subscription, and star subscription. Our potential partners that we will work with is MOE, Science Center, and NASA. Our amazing team is made up of mom and children. We dare to dream big because mom is always right. Don't reach out for the stars.
Okay, next up is Gio, our second last presentation, and we have Blind Men and the Elephant on standby.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rafael, and this is Gio, a sustainable risk mitigation solution for policymakers. Data has a huge potential to help less developed countries forecast, prepare, and mitigate against natural disasters. However, it has huge barriers to entry. Firstly, Earth data from NASA is all over the place, with numerous websites individually representing specific data sets. Secondly, this data is presented in a way that is hard to understand for government officials and locals, such as this. And lastly, these data sets are tough to be interpreted and extrapolated without industry knowledge. As such, these data sets are often put to waste without benefiting the livelihoods of locals living in such countries. Hence, we set out to solve this wastage with Geo. Geo is a green risk mitigation solution to help policymakers better understand Earth data and prepare for future floods and droughts with sustainable mitigation solutions. Our platform first aggregates data from SNAP, EcoStress, and satellite images from USGS Landsat through web crawling. These data will then be simplified and visualized on an interactive map with multiple overlays. Lastly, and most importantly, the data will be fed into our AI bot, which will highlight risk profiles and recommend sustainable mitigation methods for the policymakers. We collect data from other countries all around the world solving similar problems and tailor the solution to the specific data of the town, according to the UN Standard Framework. We will also offer land use guidelines for better town planning. Now let's move on to a demo of Raja Paka Farm in Phuket to better understand our solution. As you can see, the policymaker can first enter his coordinates. He will then be presented a map with data source NASA Earth data sets. On the left, you can see the total generated risk score for the area, and on the right, you can see individual overlays, heat, topography, and other data onto the map itself. On the map, high-risk areas with environmental data is deviant from normal are highlighted. For example, this low-lying area with close proximity to the ocean and mountainous regions is prone to tsunamis and has a high risk of flooding. You can then click to see a more thorough explanation, which offers specific data for the point and also receive actionable feedbacks. In this case, our AI bot's top recommendation is to plant mangrove trees to reduce wave energy of incoming waves, reducing flooding risk. This cost-effective and sustainable solution is inspired by implementations in other countries like Terengganu and Singapore, but the arrangement of the mangroves will be different according to the salinity of the water as well as the direction of the current. Lastly, you can even see a recommended land use map generated by our AI to protect high-value industries from natural hazards. In summary, Geo helps policymakers better plan and mitigate against floods and droughts. We bring together data collected from all over the web, process and visualize it to make it easily understandable, and offer actionable measures and land use guidelines to guide local officials to better address the individualized problems. More importantly, these measures are green and sustainable, making the environment more resilient. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay, our last presentation of the afternoon, Blind Men and the Elephants.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are blind men and the elephant. Setting our sights high. So, a satellite is like a blind man, feeling the earth. What we want to do is gather as many satellites together that overpass one spot on Earth more or less at the same time. We want to answer questions like, what kind of satellite data can we get for this spot for a given time? To answer that question, we turn to a giant like Google. They did something similar for images, the reverse image search. Let's see how our solution works. First, we define the location. Then we define how much the sky we want to see. Finally, the time. From there, we compute the satellites that can be seen and also provide the capabilities. Next, we show our work in progress. This is the website we built. It's live. You can try it out with yourself. It's live. You can try it out yourselves. Anyway, you should be able to see an application.
We'll just pause for a second.
I'll pause. All right, here we are. And the app will find you, so it's centered around Singapore. When we click on Singapore, that's the latitude, longitude. We can tell the app how much of the sky we want to see, and also the time we're interested in. So as we clicked on it, we found that these satellites were available, but more importantly, these data categories are available. So for Earth scientists, this is fantastic. Let's look at optical imaging. We've got Landsat 8 and Suomi. Let's find out more about Landsat. That's how it looks like. Large bodies of water, relative elevation. You can download the data right there. But hold on, what's happening here? Planet Labs, SkySat 1, 2-meter resolution. Oh, you've got to buy, but if you buy from us, you've got a discount code. Good. Let's go back to the presentation. So that's how it works. Essentially, we get the satellite position from NASA's API, and we compute it to produce the satellite ID. Next. So our aim is to link users, engineers, scientists to diverse unknown data sources. Our impact is to connect to students, educators, teachers, and learn about all the diverse data sources there are up there in the sky. We can track all kinds of satellites, both public data, for example, those from NASA, as well as private for-pay data. Next. Satellite resources from NASA, satellite position, open source, Bill Gray's code. Our team member Earl over there wrote the satellite visibility code. Our special interesting database was curated by Kitsu and Matt, and I'm Siu who built the website. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, that sort of concludes the presentations for this afternoon. I'm now, so big round of applause for everybody.